Speaking to Cheryl Atkinson, the famous reporter, when reporter actually meant reporter, not advocate for dominant left-wing ideas. Follow the Science is her book, and the subtitle, but it covers more than that. It goes to the medical profession, not just Big Pharma, is how Big Pharma misleads, obscures, and prevails. Talking to you about the COVID vaccine, you said you had an anecdote about children and the vaccine.
There's a little girl who is 12 named Maddie DeGarry in Cincinnati, whose parents allowed her to take part in the first Pfizer COVID trial on COVID vaccine for kids. Within hours of her second dose, she became irreversibly sick with electric shock through her body, deteriorating where she couldn't walk, couldn't hold up her head, has to be fed by a tube. A horrible cascade of illnesses. And her mother thought, gosh, if my kid's going to study and anything bad happens, at least she'll get the best of care. Not only has Pfizer and the FDA and Cincinnati Children's Hospital washed their hands of this child, but failed to include her when they tell doctors about the COVID vaccine safety. They say there are no serious adverse events. This child will never be the same. Her parents have had to spend their life savings caring for her. The mother had to give up work because she needs 24-hour care. I mean, it's a horrible story of how they carved her out of the study, in essence, and just immediately said, well, it couldn't be the vaccine. It couldn't be the one thing that she did that was different, that impacted her hours later. It has to be something else. And initially, Dennis, and more than one person has been told this, she was told it's all in her head, that she was, either faking it or this was some psychological disorder. Now she's getting all kinds of treatments, but it shows you how you cannot necessarily believe these studies at face value.
I'm so angry when I hear this. I actually have to contain myself. That Cincinnati Children's Hospital, is that whom you mentioned?
Yes.
And what was their role in this? I'm sorry, they denied that.
A doctor there led the study, the first Pfizer study of children for COVID vaccine to get it approved. And the study is defined if there's any early hints of adverse events, of course. But as soon as there was one, they carved her out and basically said that wasn't related to the vaccine and failed to include her. So then I looked at recently a continuing medical education course. Doctors are being taught about COVID vaccine safety in kids. They make no mention of Maddie. They say there aren't any cases like hers. So they're not being told the truth. The study's carving out anybody who's getting hurt, and she's left with no help.
Folks, even 5 years ago, had you told me that I would ever do a broadcast telling you about evils coming out of children's hospitals, I would have thought you were out of your mind. It's probably the most angelic-like term that we have in the English language, children's hospital. And they do magnificent work with many children. That's not deniable. But they are in the forefront, for example, at least in the United States and almost nowhere else, Canada as well, of advocacy of hormone blockers for children. They take out ads. They did at Boston Children's Hospital. Ads for having your kid come to their hospital, and if they see that they're the other sex, if moral corruption has reached children's hospitals, the country really does need a moral renaissance. That story, how is the girl now? Do you have any idea?
Last time I checked, her mother, they're optimists by nature. The mother says she's getting a little feeling back.
Well, you're breaking up. You broke up. We're not hearing. We had a breakup there. This is too bad. A beautiful example of an interview that worked. I really want to know how that girl is doing. I'd like to contribute a little to that family as well. I wonder if there's a GoFundMe page. He would go GoFundMe's been taken over by left-wing ideologues, by the way. I still send money there because the cases are, I'm not going to let them suffer. But they have not taken up people who have conservative views and are public about it. And have we lost Cheryl Atkinson? Is that our trying to reestablish the line? You've got to figure out a way. I just want to note this. You have to figure out a way to deal with bad news. Otherwise, your only alternative is to check out, and that's not moral, or to go nuts. So you have to figure out a way. This is what has happened to medicine is bad news. So I was asking you when I lost you, Cheryl, how is the girl?
Last time I checked, some feelings coming back in her legs. She's trying to eat a little bit of food, but it makes her sick. She's not good, but the mom is optimistic. They are getting some treatment from independent doctors who are tracking these illnesses. This is why it's important. And learning protocols that can help people who are injured this way. So hopefully she can get improvement and get her life back.
Well, it's been years now. Is her mind functioning the same?
I think so. I don't know. When I visited her, she was just laying in bed and couldn't even really look up or didn't want to have a chat. Understandably, didn't feel good. I think she's okay mind-wise. It's just her body's really falling apart. Yeah, neurologically.
Oh my God. And the medical profession will not acknowledge that it was the vaccine.
She had to find independent doctors who have acknowledged it's the vaccine. She suffers from a syndrome that's associated now with COVID vaccine and other vaccines. So at first, they simply denied it without helping.
When we come back, I have a short final segment. I'm going to ask you about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and the third rail. You're one of the few guests I warned in advance.